It's your boy GS Luke, back again with another Draftkings Core Picks video, this time for the CJ Cup out in Las Vegas. And we have a star-studded field this week. We have 15 of the top 25 in the world, as well as some massive DK contests to try and take down as well. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to cover my favorite play in each salary range for our DraftKings contest this weekend. We're going to be using our database approach, as always, to pick the best players on the slate, from the studs the whole way down to our flyer picks. We're going to be combining a player's recent form metrics, their course fit over their career, as well as game theory to help identify these plays. And at this week's CJ Cup, this is a completely new venue over at the Summit Club, making this aspect of our research ever more so important. So without any more delay, let's hop right into the picks for this week's CJ Cup. And starting off with our players to target, for our spend up tier, we have Dustin Johnson. Yes, former world number one, who was an absolute beast at the Ryder Cup, pretty much asserting himself as one of the best players in the world once again. He's $11,300 on the slate, so yes, he's the most expensive player of anyone in this field, but definitely think it's well warranted when we consider the kind of form that he's coming in with. Obviously not going to include the Ryder Cup in that recent form, but went 5-0 there, looked like an absolute world beater. In terms of full field events, he has an 8th place finish on his record, a tied for 6th, and a missed cut coming in. So overall, 4 top 10s out of his last 6 starts, and that would be considered sneaky good form for him, because I don't think anybody right now is thinking about Dustin Johnson as the best player in the world, but with 4 top 10s out of those last 6 starts, he's been that kind of a player. He's been absolutely unreal with the putter over that stretch, and again continued at the Ryder Cup, and he looked by far the best putter in the world there. And since July 1st, just to give you an idea of how good that putter's been, he's getting an average of 1.18 shots gained putting per round. So obviously lapping his peers in that department. And while he hasn't been completely unflappable with his ball striking, that's the part of the skill set that he's typically able to lean into, the part of the game that we expect to be good from DJ week in and week out. Obviously one of the best drivers of the golf ball in the world, and he gets extremely hot with those irons. If he brings either of those assets with him over here to the Summit Club, that putting is going to make him one of, if not the guy to beat in this field of the best. At number 2, for our second man in, we have Abraham Ancer at $9,100, coming off a missed cut, which isn't great. But if we take a look at the form coming into that missed cut, it was immaculate. That's why he was my sleeper pick last week, if you guys saw our fades and sleepers. So again, coming in with the missed cut, a 9th place finish, and a 9th place finish in the event before that. He's somebody who's in a great spot to bounce back, given the kind of course fit that he is. Obviously, the form going in last week, like I mentioned, was great. So that's why I shouldn't be surprised that we're on him back again, even after that lackluster performance. He's somebody who, the main defense of this course are its complex bent grass greens that are extremely fast, that have a ton of slope to them, and make putting really tricky. But if we take a look at Abraham Ancer's game, not only is he a great putter, he's somebody who specializes at fast bent grass greens. So if we take a look at his splits, he's, again, by far the best on bent grass, where he gains an additional 0.23 shots gained putting per round. That is a very significant split right there. And if we add in fast greens, he gets an additional 0.15 shots gained per round boost. Even with the miscut, even with a tons of strokes lost, he grades out still as one of the best players in this field in terms of his recent form. He's gaining across all 4 major statistical categories since July 1st, and that includes around the green, which is by far one of his biggest weaknesses. Typically, around the green can hold him back, even when he has his A game, but of late, that hasn't been a problem. He's clearly put a lot of time, a lot of work in there, and it's started to pay off in terms of finishes. Ancer's also been a prolific birdie maker. He ranks top 15 in this field, and if you take a look at his ball striking stats and his putting stats, which you obviously expect to be top-notch, he has gains of 0.46 shots gained approach per round, which is top 15 for this star-studded field, and gains of over half a stroke per round putting. So again, top 15 in birdie better percentage, shots gained putting, and approach play. Those are my 3 key stats for this week. So checking all of the boxes, coming off a missed cut, so we expect lower ownership. I'm completely in love with Abraham Ancer as a play this week. Now for our bread and butter play, we have Jason Kokrak at $8,500. Coming in again off a missed cut, so somebody that we're buying back in on in hopes of a rebound performance. So in terms of his recent form, has a missed cut, a T11 finish, and a T15 finish. So coming in with a little bit of sneaky form, has been a lot better than people have given him credit for. And he's the winner of this event in 2020. Obviously, this time it's over at the Summit Club, was at Shadow Creek last year, but they're both Las Vegas golf courses, both have a similar terrain, and they're both Tom Fazio designed. So I think there's a lot more parallels between these golf courses than people are really giving them credit for. And he's by far the most I would say, familiar with this golf course of anybody in the area. So Jason Kokrak, he's sponsored by MGM. He routinely comes out here and plays the golf courses. It's why he was so familiar with Shadow Creek last year. So MGM owns Shadow Creek, works with Tom Fazio, and Jason Kokrak had at least 8 to 10 rounds on that golf course. And a majority of that field had never seen it before. You had Jordan Spieth, who'd played it once or twice before for charity events, that kind of thing. You had Phil Mickelson that played it with Tiger Woods for the match. So a lot of people may have seen it on that, but in terms of actual experience on the golf course, Jason Kokrak was the only guy who even had a remote interest in it. And now here we go to another golf course that has never been played on tour before. It's never been played in competition, and it's a course that Kokrak has access to. I'm assuming that he has a lot more familiarity than a lot of the other people in this field. And despite not making any major noise of late in terms of his recent form, again, he's like a T11, a T15, that sort of thing. He's gaining across every major statistical category since July 1st, and that includes gains of 0.32 shots gained on approach round. He's also been a top 10 birdie maker in the world over that stretch of golf. So somebody who, if he can clean up the bogeys, can really make a mark on this type of a field. Guys, I wanted to introduce you to my PGA Tour projections page. It is on Patreon. It's just $8 for the month, and you guys get access to my projections for every player in this week's field and all the golf tournaments coming up. It is the best value in the entire industry. Again, you get my projected points, you get my ownership rankings, you get my custom model rankings, you get access to the GS Luke community Discord to ask any questions, interact with the rest of the community, that kind of thing. And again, just $8 for the month. We're gonna have a lineup builder coming out in the next few weeks. We're also gonna have even more tools added as the weeks go on. So highly recommend you guys get in there. Link will be in the description. Again, just $8 for the month. Now hopping right back into the core plays. For our value option, we have Aaron Wise at $7,400, coming in off a very impressive finish at the Shriners Children's Open. He's an 8th place finish there, a 17th place finish the week before, and a 21st finish the 3rd week prior. So somebody who's the highest point per dollar play on the slate as of right now, and it will be a prominent feature of my player pool after yet again that impressive performance last week at the Shriners. His spike of finishes is undoubtedly because of the recent momentum that he's found with the flat stick. Since July 1st, he is exactly a neutral putter on tour. And while that might not seem like a massive thing to write home about just about any golfer, it's something extremely significant when we consider that Wise is typically the worst putter on the PGA Tour. And that is not an exaggeration. Over the last 3 years, he's averaged 0.4 shots gained in the negative per round putting, which is absolutely atrocious. That is very hard to overcome. But again, of late, has been a neutral putter. And on top of that putting success, he's been very good in all other categories as well, gaining across all the other 3 major statistical categories. Those include gains of 0.21 shots gained off the tee per round and nearly half a stroke gain around the green per round. Another point that I really like about Aaron Wise this week is that he's great on bent grass. It's his second favorite surface, and he hardly has lost strokes on it per average over his career. So at his price point, he's very easy to fit into lineups, especially if you're playing in cash or a GPP. And again, will be a prominent feature of all of my lineups this week. And now we get down to the diamond in the rough pick. That is going to be Cam Davis, somebody who we wrote about last week as a core pick, ended up making the cut. A decent finish there with a T27, but I think this track sets up very similarly for him, and I see an even better result. So $6,400, somebody I'm going right back to. And not only is he going to be able to lean into his length and his aggressive nature as a golfer, he's also a bent grass specialist. He is by far the biggest split that I've ever seen in terms of his performance from grass type to grass type. He's a loser on every other surface on tour, and some of them as bad as a quarter of a stroke if we take a look at how he putts on Bermuda. But again, on bent grass, he gains 0.56 strokes per round on bent, and that's just a straight up number. That is a solid 0.61 strokes better per round than his average. That is a massive difference. That is a bigger difference than how bad Aaron Wise is at putting. I mean, that is just a massive level of polarization right there. And if we take a look at how he's played of late in terms of recent form, since July 1st, he's been rock solid across the board. He's been gaining across all 4 major statistical categories. And while no category really stands out as a massive gainer, he's not gaining over half a stroke in any category. He's had tons of ceiling performances with each aspect of his game. So this is just since July 1st. These are all the ceiling performances he has at every category of his game. So off the tee, he has gains of 2.45 shots gained and 2.19. On approach, he has 3.4 and 4.38 shots gained performances. These are in terms of tournaments, by the way. But take a look at his around the green play. He's 3.47, 3.21, and 3.11 shots gained in a tournament. And in terms of the putting, he has 6.37 and 3.1 shots gained putting. So has found ways to get it done across all 4 major statistical categories. And what's great to see is that the putting performances also came on bent grass. So of late has shown a lot of momentum on that surface. And again, he hasn't had any crazy outlier performances. He doesn't have a win to take home or anything like that. If he's able to piece together one or two of these performances, he could very well end up winning a golf tournament again. Just if we take a look at the last time he won on tour, that was at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. We ended up betting him that week. He was one of our core picks that week as well. And that's when he was able to piece together 3 of these categories. He gained 3 shots gained on approach, around the green, and putting, and that's why he was able to take home a win. So obviously if he's able to piece together 2 of those performances, probably going to finish in the top 5. If he ends up finding a way to piece together 3 or even 4 of those again, obviously could come home a winner. So really like him this week. Really like the price tag at $6,400 as well. But for our flyer play, just $100 cheaper, is going to be Jhonattan Vegas at $6,300, and not coming in with quite as immaculate form as our other picks here. Is a T35, 38 finish, a miscut, and a T15 finish to write home about. But he's also the guy we haven't seen in quite some time. We haven't seen him since the Wyndham Championship. It feels like ages, but if we take a look at his form coming into that stretch of golf and ever since this break, he was in one of the best stretches of his entire career. So over that stretch, going into that week, he had gained more than 2 strokes on approach in 9 of his last 12 starts on tour. If you take a look at how he played off the tee, he gained off the tee in 9 of his 11 events coming into the event. And those were over 2 strokes gained off the tee. So he's had prolific results in terms of his ball striking. And while the around the green play and putting has obviously not been quite as consistent, he's found spike weeks in both categories. He has over 3 shots gained around the green in 2 of his performances since July 1st, and over 2 shots gained putting in 3 of his performances. So again, just like Cam Davis, needs to find the around the green play, needs to find the putting, one or the other. But if he ends up doing that, is in a great spot and at a great price point, potentially break the slate. That is all I've got for my core plays here for the CJ Cup. Make sure to let me know down in the comments who you've got as your winner for this week's CJ Cup. I'd love to get some debate going down in the comments. Obviously for me, I do think that DJ has the best chance of doing so, but love to hear what you guys have to think. Thank you guys for stopping by, as always, and supporting the channel. If you guys haven't already liked the video, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you guys go ahead and do so. We're going to have the normal allotment of content coming out this week for the CJ Cup, along with our normal live stream on Wednesday evening. It'll be at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, covering our player pool, ownership, game theory, and any live questions that you have. So make sure to stop on by. But until then, good luck with all of your lineups, and I'll see ya.